Hey guys, how's it going? Welcome to the Ration Museum weekly stream. It is October 24th, 2022, and this is bulletin number 88. So, today I've got one main task that'll probably not get done during the stream. We'll see. We've got, I want to say, close to 60 scanned in ads from mostly oh shoot, is it the New York Post? No, I can't remember now. Um, we'll see when we start looking at the ads. They're scans from full page ads from the 1940s mostly. So they're wartime home front ads for companies that are producing things that are going overseas, for the government itself, for whatever it happens to be. So it's military related, war effort related ads for canning, for actual products, actual food items, for why you don't have stuff locally, for cigarettes, for all kinds of stuff. I love these ads. I know we've looked at them a couple times, but this time I'm going to be slightly tilting them back to straight and making smaller versions of them to put in the VR museum. We won't be jumping back into the VR museum this week. There's still a lot of background stuff I didn't get done in between streams, but I think we're going to go ahead and follow the pattern from last week, and I'm going to probably stick to this, starting the stream with the food. Generally, part of the reason I'm thinking that is the food, eating is a variable length thing. So trying to time it where I start a meal where just as I finish, it should be about the end of the stream has always been pretty hard. So doing it this way, for one, I get the actual hunger out of the way, and I'm thinking a little clearer during the stream. And two, well, no, that's the main one. Two, the time aspect. But this time, if you guys can see over here, oh, come on, wake up, camera. It's going to be a thing, isn't it? I need to get this resolved long term, so hopefully for the most part, it's lagging like crazy this time. I wonder why. Let's see. Is it on the right Wi-Fi? Does it see the Wi-Fi? It does, and it is. So, not sure. But as you can see on the tray here, sorry, I use my hand as a gauge for whether it's real time or not. It's really, really not there. Like almost 3 seconds behind. That's a full 3 seconds behind, and that doesn't make any sense. Gonna have to probably reposition a few things and see if that helps. Stuff that's metal tends to be a problem. Yeah, no, I mean, you guys see it, but like what I'm saying is it's out of sync with reality, which throws me off a little bit. And then it'll like stutter and lag and that kind of stuff. Now it's like 4 seconds behind. That doesn't seem right. Let me see if there's anything weird going on itself. All right, that seems better. All right, seems like it isn't liking me putting the camera into a standby mode anymore. All right, now we're at about a half a second, so I'm fine with that. So as you guys can see on the tray, still gonna drive me nuts for it to not sync up with my actual hand movements. But anyway, we've got the remainder of a Kazakh ration. This was the one that was really bad looking in in the package it was all, slimy and weird looking, and it turned out all it was a packet of apple jam that was meant for the crackers that was in there that had ruptured and was kind of all over everything, but only on the outside. So I cleaned up the can, and we can see a copy of, oh, I was going to say a copy of a label that's the same thing, but that's not it. No, okay, so I guess that means this was the only kasha ration from this one. We also had the borscht and the tushonka, so I haven't actually tried this yet. So this one is kasha, which is kind of like a pearl barley with some ground meat, and it's got lots and lots of grease. It's a fun one. I don't know that we'll be able to translate this wrapper because it's really, really rough quality right now. I mean, I'm glad it cleaned up enough to be recognizable, but it was pretty gross. It's actually not, I think I got it pretty clean. Then we've got these crackers. So these are the hardtack crackers, but the Ukrainian, I mean, sorry, not Ukrainian, the Kazakhstan ones, I really like because they actually soak things in. They're not so rock solid that they don't soak up whatever they're put in. So we're going to give those a shot. We've got a pack of M&Ms, and my apologies, I'm not 100% certain, but I believe this pack came from Bob Sourwine. So this is roughly 2010. The expiration's in early 2012, so I'm going to go ahead and say 2010 or early 2011 or no, sorry. If it's in 2012, then it's probably going to be late 2011 or even early 2012, but generally a candy like that. See, look at how weird that is. I put that down seconds ago and let go, and it like went into this weird slow motion. I'm sorry, guys, that the quality on this is a little wonky today. It's gonna matter because yeah, look at that. It's just bad. I don't know what I can do to possibly fix that right now, except maybe restart this whole video stream or disconnect from the Wi-Fi and reconnect. I'm going to try that. I'm going to try turning it off. Right? It looks a lot older, and maybe I'm misunderstanding. So the expiration is 10412, which I took to be a 2012 expiration. So you're saying you think it's a lot older than that. I think it's a very plain looking package, but overall, they didn't change a ton for a long time. I mean, there's a lot of people on the internet that oh god, I'm like, there's a lot of folks out there that do all sorts of different things with their free time. So I'm thinking to myself, there's probably somebody that tracks wrapper styles for M&Ms. And that brought me already to a website called Collecting Candy, where people seem very interested in all sorts of aspects of, older candies, which is crazy. But hey, we're into old army food, so that's not so insane. So let the Wi-Fi stay off for a little bit. And I'm gonna close and restart the streaming program. And then we'll see if anything gets any better. Generally, it's been pretty good long term, but Yeah, the Wi-Fi up in this part of the house is terrible, and it's my fault. I really do need to take the time to fix it up. Okay, so let's see if this gets any better. Starting over, closed a bunch of background programs, putting in the background itself, and turn it back on. Hey, okay, so far so good. I mean, granted, it's on and off, but okay, already not quite. That worked perfectly for just a moment there. Yeah, here's my hand, so obviously it's not over there at this point. Well, we'll see what we can do with it. It'll probably just be a little awkward every once in a while. I mean, this seems to be in real time. Oh, okay. We'll see how it goes. Sorry to get focused on that already. Burning 10 minutes talking about the camera. All right, so let's see what we can figure out with the M&Ms themselves. It'd be awesome if they were a good deal older. This collecting candy website is crap to search. It doesn't really have what I'm looking for. Let's look at snack history. See what we got. M&Ms. Nope. Crap website. Oh, and by the way, let me get some howdies out. We got Amelie, MFO, Spicy Tuna, and Mike. So good to have you guys. Really appreciate you guys jumping in. Hope you had a great week since I saw y'all. It's been pretty hectic on my side. Usually is. Okay, here's a website. This one's probably a much better fit. Here we go. I'm going to swap over to this so we can all see it. So this website is called the Candy Wrapper Archive. There we go. So somebody took the time to make an archive site for candy wrapper styles. So what we're looking at is a very plain M&M's wrapper that has seemingly, now this says 1970s, but we're definitely not looking at a 1970s. Yeah, so that is not the same style as these. So let's hold these out here. Ooh, some powder puffed out of a tiny hole in the back. So that's a interesting sign. We'll see if these are edible. All right, so it's not these. Definitely not 1970s. They came out of an MRE, so they shouldn't be, any older than 1980. Looking for the big text block. Not seeing. Let's increase these here. So, chocolate wafer bar. Interesting. I wonder what that was like. An M&M's wafer bar. So in the 90s, I'm seeing a lot of the word plain being in a oval. Do you think these might be 80s? There really seems to be a ton of 2009 specifically, and then really nothing between, nothing after that, and not much in the early 2000s or anywhere between the 1970s and the late 90s. So I don't know. I appreciate what this site is doing, but this is not going to answer my question specifically. Though we do see that by 2009, The wrapper style is pretty different than what we're looking at. It's funny, this 1970s one is the closest. So it's possible these are some late 80s, early 90s. The expiration is probably not what I'm even seeing here. I was holding it up to the camera. Let's swap back over to that. So yeah, things like this where I'm going to hold something up to the camera and I need to be still and wait for it to focus, I need it to be in real time. So I'm glad that that's fixed, because otherwise it gets really impossible to do this. So we see this best before section, and then down in there we see this 107412, and the camera's going wonky already. You know, here's the pack in my hand, certainly not over there right now, still here. As Kaylynn would say if she was in here yet, it's a case of the Mondays already. But so this is distributed by M&M Mars, division of Mars Inc., Hackettstown, New Jersey. This Best Buy date 107412. It doesn't correspond to anything that makes direct sense. Like, you can't really read that as a day of the year, because then it leaves 3 digits on either side. Well, on one side would be the 412th day, on the other side would be the 107th. 1074. 1074 doesn't mean anything. It can't be the 74th day of the 10th month or the 10th day of the 74th month. So I'm not really sure that the numbers on there are going to help us. So we want to try and figure it out by the wrapper. This feels 80s to me in terms of look. But this site is not going to be a help. Now I got chocolate dust on my keyboard. Take a look at, I'm going to search specific years and see what comes up. Okay, here we go. So unfortunately, there's some vanity on this page, or else I'd show this. Let's see. So I found one that looks very like it, but it has a holiday, like a 4th of July, red, white, and blue edge, and this one is 1988. Okay, so let's see. This one's 1988. This is a 1-pound bag of M&Ms, but the style is the same. The font, the breakdown, the chocolate candies, that's looking right. So that'd be funny if you hit the nail on the head with a guess of 1988, Amelie, but it looks like that might be what it is. I'm much more excited if they are. Yeah, here's somebody else with a bag from 1998, or 1988 that looks the same. Here's an ad from 1988 that looks right. All right, I think what we're looking at I was going to just start kind of putting in 88, 89, 90, etc. And this would track, because a lot of the components that were in the box where this came in were also from late 80s, early 90s MREs. So okay, here's another great sign that this is a particular So this is a 1989 holiday tin, and right there Here's the bag. So I'm going to go ahead and say these are probably 1988, 1989, somewhere right in that era. Actually, that's fun. I'm glad for that. So we're going to say late 80s, early 90s M&Ms as part of this. Hey, it's still in real time. Good. For the most part. Okay, so all that being said, that's just one of the components. We've got the rest of that Kazakh ration we looked at, and then this is something I pulled out of a box in my basement. I had a couple of these back in I want to say 15. The bottom of the can says 15, but part of me thinks that that's the expiration, and I got these in 2014. Either way, they're at least 7 years old, and I'm looking forward to seeing how terrible this is, because it wasn't that great new. I'm going to eat this cold while I wait for the Kazakh ration to heat up. We're going to use the little flame block, and we're going to see how this fared. I may not finish this, and if there's any signs that there's anything wrong with it, I may not eat it at all. But the main sign is that I would look for is any swelling or bubbling on the can, and it is very, very much pulled in tight on both sides. There's no bulge, no give, no anything there. So we're looking pretty good on the can. So let's get the Kazakh ration ready to cook, and then we'll tuck in on the rest of this. Like the last two parts, we're going to actually use the fire element and cook it in can. Stove. We're going to use the stove. That's fire element. Anyway, so we've got these great big tablets that come with the Kazakh rations. Oddly enough, wait, or was this from a Lithuanian? Now I can't recall. I think these came with the Kazakh ration itself. But we've been using this stove to heat these cans. There's going to be some flame coming out the sides, potentially burning the label. So this time I'm going to go ahead and cut the label off in advance. Just go ahead and slice that, and then that way, yeah, we see some of the remnants of that jam. I peel this off. I'm going to actually just real quick go rinse this and be right back, so the jam doesn't catch on fire. And then, hey, we got Rock or something jumping in too. Good to have you. We're going to be diving right into the meal today, so you're here for the fun. Well, one of the fun parts. It should all be fun, right? But we're going to cook up this can of kasha, basically pearl barley or boiled groats, kind of, and have that with some hardtack, some 30-year-old M&Ms, and a almost decade-old canned cheeseburger. I'm going to be having a cup of Israeli coffee, and the last item that I forgot to mention, the camera is not working again, is this Beta tea, which came in the Kazakh ration. So it also came with these two big tubes of sugar. So I'm going to use one for the coffee and one for the tea. And let's get this thing cooking, and then we can try this burger. How's that sound? So far I've had good luck with these stoves and getting the tablets burning and the ration not really boiling over. There we go. learning from the last ones, one of the things that presented an issue before was that the little piece of burned matchstick actually acts as a conduit for the fire. And similar to how like a candle wick will continue to burn, almost indefinitely if it's feeding new wax into it. It seemed like the puck was kind of feeding something along it and it was burning out into the side. So I wanted that out of the way. We're going to take the whole top off of this can. So let's do that. And I'm going to take a little bit of the material out so that we're not right up on the top there, and pop that on the heater, and we should be good to go. Now, I didn't try this last time. I actually kind of got just the juice and put that into the tray so that when I poured in the hot ration, it mixed. This time I just ate a big spoonful of cold kasha, and I would not recommend that. Let's get this in a spot where we can take a better look at it as it cooks there. Hey Mike, you can see right here it's down quite a bit, but I keep that right here since this is generally where I eat. Let's see. What are you saying? Why does it hold every single emoji for review? I'm gonna scream. Why does it hold? I'm not sure I follow what you were trying to say there, Amelie. I don't know. I don't know. Okay, so while that's cooking, I'm gonna flop over to the main, or to this bigger camera, and we are gonna open up this trekking burger. This is from asmc.de. So this was adventure, backpacking, basically burger from this company in Germany that I used to occasionally pick up EPAs or random other ration components closer to a decade ago. I'm not honestly certain if they're still around or what they still sell. On the side, I'm going to just do a quick lookup. I can't imagine they disappeared. Yeah, they're still here. They sell a lot of surplus equipment, and they had a good amount of camping, what they called camping food. So let's take a quick look, actually. I got that site up. Oh yeah, this is where I used to buy Coca-Cola because they didn't overcharge for it. And the shipping from Germany really wasn't that bad since they use DHL, and DHL gives really good rates from Europe to the US, not so much the other way around. So you can see this site has little survival rations, these energy bars, but then they also have like Coca-Cola. They've got the Ration chocolate bars. They've got some good canned meals. We got the big bag coffee brewers. We've got, I want to say this is, canned bread. Oh, the Rogan Schrootbrood kind of stuff. Yeah, okay, so this site is still looking pretty good, and they sell individual travel lunch components. I probably shouldn't have looked at this website because it's making me want to put in a new order. Okay, so we got, oh, hey, CT's jumping in. Good to have you. Good to have you. So you guys should be able to see we got, ooh, this is already getting pretty hot. The actual metal block down below. I've got this on a brick of stainless steel to absorb as much of the heat as I can, and then that in turn is on rubber pads so that I'm not burning the desk. We got some steam coming up here. I'm gonna want to just get a little bit of liquid off of there once it starts cooking a little more, just to make sure it doesn't like bubble over all over the place. But if it does, I can always clean it up. So, link the site. Absolutely, we got asmc.de, and you're looking for camping food is the category there. So, without further ado, let's take a look inside this thing. I'm going to slide this back a bit and swap cameras. Moment of truth. Absolutely no air noise. Oh, yeah, never mind. There was air noise. Pulled a little air in. Okay, so the bread itself looks good. There's no obvious mold. All right. So we'll plate that. It's gonna take a sniff in the can. Okay, smells pretty normal. So it's funny, you know, this is listed as a canned hamburger, but in reality, it's like a piece of summer sausage with some condiments crammed in between two buns. I think there is some cheese in it, let's say. So let's bring this over here. Shift this. And let's take a look inside this burger. So we can see the cheese is this brown substance on top. We got this formed piece of meat. And we got our bread. So I'm just gonna take the tiniest nibble. See if anything weird. Just getting a strong taste of seasoned meat. Tastes old, but it doesn't taste rancid or anything. Before I go crazy with that, let's get these drinks going so that I have something to fall back on if I have to. This always fun to move an on-fire object around on the computer desk carefully. So I'm gonna start with some coffee. And I'm gonna add a packet of American non-dairy creamer from Giannis Brothers. Modern era. Smells fine. Did not open correctly. And before it goes too far, this is starting to pop. So I'm gonna take a little off the top. doesn't explode all over. And open up some channels to the bottom. Hopefully keep this thing from exploding. But it's getting really warm. So that's good. That's good. There's kind of a burnt cigarette smell for some reason right now. I'm just gonna pour in the sugar. I'm sorry that camera's no good today. It's driving me a little crazy. And we're just gonna tap in a fair amount of coffee. As long as it mostly catches up. And pour some water. We've got ourselves a cup of coffee. Let's start the tea. So this is the only thing in the package that's printed in English. Beta tea. It says selected quality down below. It's black tea, and yeah, there's no English on the package, which I found pretty interesting. Amelie's saying, smelled a burnt cigarette as you cook a can over an open flame. Yeah, you know, interesting, right? It really has that kick. It's reminding me of a specific aunt's house growing up. All right, so I'm gonna move the drinks back here so I can dump the crackers out somewhere. They're all smashed up and we don't have any jam. I'm gonna put a good portion of them on the main entree spot so we can soak things up. We're gonna open up this packet of M&Ms and see what she looks like. I don't want to wreck the pack. Okay. All right, so we've got dust for M&Ms. All right, the entree's done cooking, it looks like. I'll spread out some of these crackers, and then we'll dump that out on top. See, what was I doing for the heat there? I want to say I was just folding over a paper towel a couple times. Yeah, that's working. Pan itself is immensely hot, but this is holding back the heat. Yeah, it smells coming from inside, from bottom where everything got very badly burned. I don't know how well it's coming across, but there's quite a bit that's caked in there. Gonna push that out of the frame, focus on the meal. Which turns out looking pretty good here. It's It's a lot less liquid than I thought it was going to be. I know we took some liquid out, but almost new M&Ms. Yeah, they're only 30, you know. I can't tell if the unpleasant side of that outweighs the pleasant side. So I'll eat more. That's all right. That's all right. So, letting those drinks steep. Let me. Actually, what is this on the burger? Just fat. Oh, I spilled some fat. I remember now. Okay, so let's take a bite of this ridiculous burger. Okay, the camera's completely frozen at this point. I've been holding that burger there for 10 plus seconds. See what we can figure out. Oh, there we go. Look, magic. We'll try the trick of opening it back up and see if that helps again or not. The state of my network right now, it's not so great. Guys, I hope this isn't too bad to watch, because in the background, this is the kind of stuff that like freak out over in my head and like want to, you know, cancel the stream on account of like it being so bad. Okay, so right now it's in real time, so we're going to take advantage of that. We don't need this beyond the food review, so. It's already no good. The food's perfect. Sorry, I'm in. What the camera is doing is no good. I don't think there's anything I can do with stuff just laying around that would work any better. Here's what we're gonna do. I don't necessarily need to be in the shot for this. So while we're doing this, I'm gonna go ahead and flip the webcam down. So give me 1 sec, I'll get this set up and I'll be right back. So let me see if I can flip this as well. Unlock this. All right, transform. And there we go. All right. And one last little adjustment. I'm going to go ahead and zoom this in a bit. Okay, there we go. That's fine. Okay, so the burger. Back to this ridiculous burger. So the bun is it has a soggy feel to it. You know, it's absorbed whatever moisture's in this can. You know, it's gotten soft, kind of squishy around these edges down here. But it's mostly held up. Taste-wise, I almost want to say this is better now than when I tried it, 7 years ago. The cheese is surprisingly good. So again, that cheese is just a brown, oil slick looking thing. And the condiments are just kind of roughly tossed on there. There's little tiny chunks of onion. There's like kind of a tomato paste. Let's see what the can says in terms of ingredients. So I don't know what I was thinking. They're in German. I believe, okay, so first it explains the bread. Yeah, I'm not going to be able to understand that right now. So let me not waste too much time there while we still got nice hot Kazakh food. So this particular meal tastes kind of like an ashtray. I'm really not sure why. I can't say that I've had any cooked in the can ration that's gone this far into the burned flavor from getting cooked. See, is this? Yeah, I can handle this now. So, taking a whiff inside. Yeah, there's just no light up here. Let's see if I can fix that too. All right. Okay, you can see it's really stuck to the to the can in there, and it's blackened quite a bit. So I'm wondering if those, if the burned bottom of it really just kind of pushed the flavor up through the rest of it. It's not all of it that tastes that strange. Let me see if maybe some of it's the crackers. Yeah, I think I'm getting the flavor out of the cracker more so than the actual food. because there's no burned matter in what I'm eating. Let me stir this coffee. And let me stir the sugar into the tea. MFO saying you could put McDonald's burgers into a can at home or leave them on your desk. Either way, they taste exactly, for years, and either way, they taste exactly the same. Yeah, it's interesting. There's just not much that wants to decompose with the McDonald's burger. They basically just shrink. Let's take another bite of this trekking burger. It's got a really unique flavor to it. If I were, at a burger joint and got a burger that tasted like this, I'd be asking them what the heck they put in it. I think it's mainly just the summer sausage that's making it taste that way. There's kind of like that, extra seasoning. So I'm going to try and translate this can, just because I want to know more about what's in there. So we've got ingredients. Rolls, which are made of wheat flour, rapeseed oil, sugar, yeast, iodized table salt, sesame, and then we've got meat is beef, bread roll flour, which is wheat, flour, water, pre-dough, wheat sourdough, yeast, iodized food-grade wheat gluten, emulsifier, pre-gelatinized wheat flour, malt flour, wheat flour, flour treatment agent, sorbic acid, rapeseed oil, wheat proteins, apple fiber, and then the cheese is Gouda, and it says it's milk and a coloring agent, beta carotene E1604. Suddenly had a very heavy tickle in my throat there. And then we get beyond that to sodium nitrate, roasted onions, gherkins, which are brandy, vinegar, sugar, spices, mustard seed. Oh, God. Sorry.
All right, I think I'm gonna be okay. That was weird. Whew. More onions, ketchup, tomato paste. Oh, ketchup is made of tomato paste, brandy vinegar, sugar, modified cornstarch, um, spices, saccharin. Okay, so there's saccharin in here. Interesting. Aromatic mustard, water, mustard flour, brandy vinegar, etc., etc. Okay, so contains gluten, soy products, sesame, mustard seeds, may contain traces of nuts. All right, so that confirms that there's big old chunks of onions, like I was thinking in there, and the tomato paste. I'm gonna go ahead and grab another one of these crackers. Trying to hold this like half inch from my screen so it can focus. Yeah, really gave myself a good lineup here. We've got smoke flavored crackers, burnt kasha, 30-year-old. Dust masquerading as M&Ms. And a 7 or 8-year-old summer sausage puck in spongy buns in, a can. These M&Ms are fine. As shattered as they are, there's no rancidity, no terrible old chocolate taste. These are good. I enjoy these. We can see. Let's get some different colors in here. Yeah, these are definitely old because look, they've got the very old brown. It's still there. We got the dark brown, the light brown, yellow, the orange, and the red. Are the color set on this one? Although most of them in here have lost their shell and are just little puffs of chocolate amidst a a smattering of shattered shell bits. MFO saying famous last words. These M&Ms are fine. I'm gonna be, that's at least a 50% chance of how I end up going out is gonna be something I say is totally fine. Like, yeah, this is fine. Eat it. There's no problem eating something like that, and that's what's gonna get me. So we got the coffee. Maybe up closer will, yeah, closer works. Some of the creamer didn't fully mix in. The Kazakh sugar is sugar, so there's really no taste change there. I always enjoy this coffee Yossi sent me. Still have, a handful of servings left in it. And this black tea, just doubling down on the caffeine. That's actually really nice. So that's definitely one part of the Kazakh ration that didn't change state. The crackers I didn't notice before, but when I was opening them, I saw pretty clearly the one side of the bag was just full on open, like had a pretty wide hole in it. So these have been getting pretty stale, but I don't know if that's why they smell kind of like smoke. But overall, this was definitely a strange chunk of the meal. I mean, of the 24-hour ration. So in 2 previous streams, we saw the dinner and lunch components from this, which were the borscht and the tushanka in one of them. No, it was, yeah, with the borscht and the tushanka in one ration, another can of kasha in a separate ration, and then this one, if I recall correctly. I don't want to eat all of these at once because this is my saving grace. This is the last thing to hopefully leave the palate feeling all right. Not 100% certain I'm going to finish this burger. The wet, spongy bread is pretty rough to deal with. But I tend to commit. So if I start eating something and it's not rancid, well, sometimes even then, but it's not going to harm me. I try to finish it. Which has led to me sitting down and eating entire 24-hour rations in one sitting more than once. All right. Let's take another big bite of this burger. Like, it's not bad. It hasn't gone bad, which is frankly pretty amazing to me. You know, considering this isn't a military product. You know, this is from a a private company that makes their own products and sells a lot of surplus. I noticed that they didn't have one of these. It just has a sound to it where it's squeezing water out. And I just gotta wonder what was so damp in the can that it would be like this. Because it's definitely not that it was anything on the tray, because it was wet when I got it out. But normally something like this, you'd expect them to put something a little drier in the can itself, to avoid the the breakdown that comes with moisture. Because when you're looking at long-term stability in foods, you're really looking at the things that are going to cause decomposition are oxygen, heat, and moisture, and bacteria. And with a lack of bacteria, in a properly sealed environment, the moisture doesn't matter as much. The heat definitely matters, and any air in there would matter. But these haven't been exposed to any real heat. They've been in basements
house to house to house. This was actually, it was in a closet in Montana for a couple years, and then a basement in Manayunk, PA, and then a closet in South Philly, a basement in Center City, and now, been in a basement at my house for 2 years. So, hasn't been sitting around at extreme heat. It is so damp. It's just so unappetizing to hold this and feel how squishy like this part of it is. Focus, you terrible camera not meant for doing this task. Basement closet flavor, yeah. And this is the thing that tastes okay. The stuff that was actually canned is the stuff that tastes like cigarette smoke. So this is getting towards that point where our brain's starting to reject the idea of finishing it. So it's getting harder to chew. You know that point where, I'm sure many of you have had the army omelet where the first couple bites you enjoy it, and then all of a sudden like something turns in your brain and you don't really want to keep eating it. I've had that happen a few times. Generally I like them all the way through, but I've definitely had it where your brain's like, no, I think I'm good on this. And this one, like the first bite of this burger, I was expecting something so much worse that what I got, I was pleasantly surprised with the kick of tomato paste and onion and the the slightly smoky Gouda cheese. But the more I eat it, the more sharp it tastes and the stranger it tastes, and the more my brain has time to sit there and mull it over. But hey, there's only like 3 big bites left, so I'm gonna eat this entire burger and we'll see how it goes long term. I'll clue you guys in next time if anything goes wrong, but for the most part, the warning signs aren't there. There's no numbness, there's no feeling under the tongue, there's no sour smell to it, and the bread itself, while squishy and damp, is not displaying any signs of mold. Though I would say the squishiness could be a sign of decomposition, but we'd see something a lot more dramatic or pronounced in terms of color change if there was like a bacterial breakdown going on. So, and we'd also have seen the can swelling as the bacteria consuming and creating waste would be producing carbon dioxide, and we'd see a bulge in the can itself, and there would have been a outgassing when breaking the seal on it, as opposed to the slight air suck in noise that there was when I was opening this. All right, wish me luck on this. I'm gonna finish it. Gonna do it. It's gonna happen. I told my brain about halfway through that bite that I enjoyed it, and it seemed to work. What is old salmon?
about you guys? What's the what's the weirdest thing any of you have eaten recently? I want to hear about it. Anything you opened that was questionable, but you went for it anyway? Give me some stories. I do not think this is at the the best it can be. And I know I'm pretty famous for saying I like everything, and I do love kasha, but I'm not loving this particular can of it, and it's burned cigarette-y kind of taste. All right, Spicy says he had some pig brain for hot pot. I've never had pig brain. I've had cow brain. The Russian rations have pouches of cow brain in them. Some of them do. It's actually pretty darn good. Very smooth. Saying it was softer than the softest tofu. Nice. That sounds good. I would enjoy that. Some things, we don't see too much over here because it's considered potentially dangerous, and brain is one of those things. Brain parasites in particular can sometimes jump species and are pretty resilient against cooking or storing. So, importing wise, we generally don't allow any brain product coming from overseas. MFOs, oh man, you're getting risky there. You ate a Taco Bell once. You got to be careful with that. That's taking your life in your hands. Spicy saying the brain tasted like iron and minerals. No, I won't eat these M&Ms yet. Like I said, I'm gonna need that palate cleanser at the end of all this. All right. Here we go. Last 2 bites of this burger. Whew. All right. Whew. All right. Just one more bite. Ooey. Okay. So again, that was I've got the picture flipped vertically, so I guess actually that's backwards. Oh man. Wait, so that means if I come in from this side, yeah, okay. That's why it was so hard to hold the M&Ms up. Ooh, the last bite of that one was the hardest. That had the most, or the soggiest chunks of bread to it. All right, gotta
Gonna go down the hatch with another chunk of cigarettes on toast. Well, there was no crunch left to that bread. It had absorbed enough moisture that it was nice and chewy. That was nice. Just a little bit more. Mm-hmm. Overall, I would almost say that I wouldn't hold this against the ration, but I guess to some effect you kind of have to, considering, the jam burst and the crackers weren't completely sealed, because it wasn't that it was torn open; it was that the heat seal on one end of the packages only went part way across. Which means they've been absorbing air for a while. I'm not sure when they were around a lot of smoke, but it seems like they were. All right. We'll wrap it up with these probably pre-Jurassic Park MRE. MRE M&Ms. All right, there's a doesn't look like much, but this is the best part of this meal. And I've had like ration M&Ms where you get them out and it's just literally a bag of dust. Like every little bit is completely pulverized. There aren't any actual M&M shaped pieces left anymore. And taking them out of regular rations where nothing else is beat up, it makes me wonder, what causes them to pulverize like that over time. One thing is that the older ration bags weren't they were tough, but they weren't vacuum sealed or
pumped full of nitrogen or anything, so they could be, it could be an air situation. The M&Ms themselves weren't ever put inside an army pouch; they were just loose in the bag. So, it could be just the air inside the bag, plus, maybe minor nicks or cuts against the bag itself let air in and out. So it seems like it's just exposure to air, but I would think that in that case, you'd get more rancidity, because the chocolate itself can definitely go rancid if exposed to air for 30 years, and this was not. This was totally fine. The chocolate was very nice. I enjoyed it. The very first bite, I wasn't quite sure, but it settled into totally fine. Oh, and MFOs, you forgot the Israeli coffee. German hamburger, American candy, Kazakh kasha, and Israeli coffee. And I'm going to finish this off with some nice Kazakh tea. Well, actually, no, this wouldn't be Kazakh tea, would it? Beta tea is what's in the ration, but where does that come from? Let me see. Beta Tea Global. Globally traded Earl Grey and black tea. Their website has a .az extension. Would that be Azerbaijan? Founded in Adana in 1978. They have a market in Azerbaijan, Kazakhstan, Tajikistan, Uzbekistan, Kyrgyzstan, Russia, and Iraq. So, interesting collection. And since they got a .az domain and they start with Azerbaijan, actually no, there's a little map here on their contact page. Zoom this out. Yep, they are in Azerbaijan, in a town on, what is this body of water here? Sorry, you guys can't see what I am looking at here. Let me get this up on the screen. So this is where they're from. So yeah, I had some tea from Azerbaijan, some coffee from Israel, some M&Ms from New Jersey, excuse me, and some kasha and crackers from Kazakhstan, and a burger from Germany. So we got a nice international meal going on. What is this? Okay, the Caspian Sea. So they're in the town of Baku on the Caspian Sea. Looks like a pretty arid region. Let's see, can we take a visit? I guess the Google car here is like a Subaru Outback or something. This is a very blurry street view. Pretty interested that nearly everything I see is in English. Combi home. This is electric. Now it could be like a utility or something there. But you know, interesting place. Let's jump way down there. There we go. Now we're starting to see some Cyrillic looking characters. It's about as far as that road goes, it looks like. Were we looking at that Beta T building? Let's jump right there. Yeah. Okay, so here we go. So it wasn't a utility. That's the headquarters where this tea is from. That was good. I enjoyed the tea. I love the M&Ms. I'm glad there was some of that to finish this all off. The kasha and crackers were palatable, but not good. And the burger was interesting, good for some of the bites, and very hard to convince myself to eat for the rest of it. But you know, long run, not so bad. Definitely have had weirder stuff that's you know been rejected mentally, but I think overall this was a you know this wasn't the best meal, but you know that's kind of you know you get your ups and downs, and part of this can go to show that if you need the calories, you look out for the warning signs. You know, you give it a little time. You take small bites or you know tiny little tastes at first, and even if it's not something you enjoy, if it's got calories in there and you need them for a survival situation, you power through. So, you know, I'll just pretend that this was a survival situation this time. Honestly, I've been on a really tight diet for a little over a week, which is doing great. I'm doing great on the diet, but this is everything I'm going to eat today, and you know, it's higher on the calorie list than I want. And when you're on a diet like that, you kind of want you know to use your calories for something you really enjoy. So in that sense, it was a little bit of a shame to burn them on something that was something that was a little off like that. But hey, it happens. Like I know I like all of those items you know, individually. So if I had a brand new one of those trekking burgers, I would definitely toss it in a backpack and give it a shot. I remember not loving it the first time around, but I also heated it up. I boiled the can, if I recall. And it didn't do anything for it. In this case, I'm glad I didn't go to the trouble of trying to heat it. Excuse me. Because the cheese isn't going to change form at all, and the you know the bread is just going to steam and get weird, and it'll just pull any extra moisture out of the burger out of the puck of summer sausage that it can. But you know if they're cheap and you want to try them, you know go for it. But if you don't have to. No, I don't know. Don't know where I'm going with all this. Let me swap cameras back. It's funny, the Samsung, this camera here, it still sees the tray. And, you know, it completely failed. Like this is. Oh, now it's just blank. So, you know, the part of the problem could be this app keeps getting updated, and now I notice there's just ads throughout the whole app itself. They're not coming through in the video,
which is nice, but there are ads crammed into the app. I'm wondering if they messed it up. I'm wondering if they made it less reliable, in their quest to make a couple bucks off of it. Because IP webcam has been something I've been using for years and I always loved, but bit by bit, it's changing for ad support, and I think they screwed it up, to be honest. All right, so let me get a couple things ready here, and then we'll try and do some editing on those propaganda posters. I don't know. Propaganda posters, only really covers a couple of them, specifically things like the Victory Vitamin C ad campaign. That's my favorite. It's home front morale kind of stuff. So it's it's really more just wartime ads, would be a better way of putting it. Hey, Kaylynn, welcome. Good to have you. Frying up a piece of salmon you grabbed out of the freezer. I hope it hasn't just been out on the counter all this time, but I assume it's been in your fridge. Oh, it's funny. I just opened up YouTube, and just to double check something, and I see, right there in the middle of the homepage here. Let me swap back. It's recommending a video on Trekking Burger versus Burger-tastic from RC Gusto. I don't think I've seen this one. I'm gonna have to give it a watch and see what he thinks. That in the picture, that has to be the Burger-tastic, because that doesn't look anything like this Trekking Burger. Or is Burger-tastic a local burger place for him, and it was a fresh burger? Now, I mean, the thing with these Trekking Burgers is they look great when you open the can. Okay, yeah, the Burger-tastic's just a fresh burger. It looks like. Okay, so the that first look when we cracked the top of the can, it looked really nice, but you had that golden brown with all the sesame seeds in it, but the damp sogginess of the bottom of the bun, not a big fan. All right, so what I'm going to be working on are these wartime ads where this, I would say this kind of thing would count as home front propaganda, and the Department of Clandestine Affairs and had a propaganda mission internally. Home front propaganda was later outlawed in terms of direct military and government agency crafting and collaboration on the release of media within the United States that wasn't directly labeled as a message from the government or from the military. So working with radio programs, TV programs, etc., to somewhat covertly engage in distribution of ideas to the public. That was only restarted in the last 10 years in the United States. So currently there is the legal ability of the government to basically step in behind the scenes with, you know, regular media and not necessarily dictate, but work together to embed messages that specifically are aimed at increasing volunteership in the military, decreasing um, revolutionary thought and that sort of thing. It's, you know, it's thought crafting. It's trying to change the sentiment of the public slowly, covertly, with repetitive imagery or, you know, ideas that are pushed out to TV, radio, internet, etc. So it's interesting that that's come back, and because it's a current program, the the actions aren't released. We don't know what media is being directly um, directly crafted by. Not sure what branch of government is allowed to use the Homefront propaganda. So I'm not sure like if it's you know which alphabet agency it happens to be. But so this one was Campbell's Soup, putting out a message from Secretary of Agriculture and just kind of driving home that keeping soldiers fed, keeping soldiers' nutrition in check while overseas was a major advantage the United States had over its enemies during World War II. The fact that we could continue to supply hearty, homegrown food while others were dealing with supply issues or not necessarily producing rations in as scientific and organized a fashion as the United States was. They were still in that mindset of collecting food as you move through new battlefronts, which could leave you in a pinch where you were stuck somewhere for the winter and you had exhausted the local resources, or where you moved too slowly to regularly get an influx of new resources. So we saw in the beginning of the Russian invasion into the Ukraine a lot of troops raiding local grocery stores. We saw videos and photographs that had old style, like say 5, 6, 7-year-old style Russian rations in bombed out vehicles and broken down on the side of the road and that sort of thing. So, and some, later as it went on, we saw more photos coming from the Russian side where, you'd see them in the background or you'd see somebody eating one. So it seemed like, at least at first and potentially still, they had a food supply issue and they had a ration supply issue in particular because they were using old stockpiles. Whether that means they weren't making as many new, I'm not sure. But I mean, it sure seems like on on eBay and etc. that it's usually pretty easy to find Russian rations. Although I haven't looked since this conflict began. I wonder if that's not so much the case right now. So we've got all kinds of great ads here. This is one of my favorites here. And what I'm going to be working on today is basically slicing these pictures out of the scan bed from when I did a high quality scan of them. Because we can go in really far and we can see the actual, individual. There we go. You can see the individual, ink dots for making these. Yeah, there we go. It's the scans I think were about as good as we could possibly get for these ads, but again, it pulled in the entire bed, so I've got to trim these, and some of them are a little crooked, so there might be some straightening that goes on. But my goal with these is to chop them all out and bring them into the virtual museum and make kind of like a snaking hallway tour where you get to walk through a gallery room and have them on the walls and put them into groups and in VR you can walk right up and read them and look, as closely as you need. Because we're seeing even here, it's kind of hard to get the whole feel for it on a screen. Because these were large Saturday Evening Post. Is that what I was thinking? I was trying to remember the name of the publication before, but they're a little large, and when zoomed in, you lose chunks of them because of the vertical nature of them. Yeah, okay. Saturday Evening Post. That's where most of these ads were run. It was large, it was a big magazine. It was a weekly. It did full color printing, and plenty of companies took these ads out throughout the course of the war to kind of keep the mindset home, keep people from forgetting them to some degree. Because if all of a sudden they were turning all of their production overseas, to the war effort, or turning a large portion of their production to the war effort, people going to the grocery store, people going to the hardware store, whatever company it happened to be, we're seeing a lot less of them. We're seeing none of them. So, and that was true for a lot of companies that made anything for the war, whether it was clothing or ammunition or casings or whatever it had happened to be. That if a factory had converted 100% to wartime effort, which many did, then that meant that all of a sudden their domestic buyers didn't see them. They were gone. They started to fade from memory, if not for ads like this that would, remind the people that that company was currently engaged in something noble, that they were working to make sure that the troops were taken care of first and foremost, or that the war machine was moving forward, thanks to their efforts. So, like here we're looking at a company that Saucony Vacuum. They did vacuum forming, and they did well, let's see. Sony vacuum process. They're used in making textiles, paper, plastics, rubber, pottery, paint, tree sprays, cordage and fabric preservatives, moisture proofing agents, and anti-rust compounds, insecticides, larvicides, electrical apparatus, food packages, cleaners. So basically, these were elements. This company was producing treatments, and in particular, as we can see here, waxes, oils that they were using for preservation and for manufacturing. But during the war, instead, they were making things like these boxed heat rations, which were little cardboard boxes filled with wooden sawdust made into a compressed brick that you would set on fire and cook your ration on. So we've got Campbell's Soup. We've got the Crosley Radio Company. So Crosley, in this case, they're advertising one of their fridges. But so they were a home appliance company. They made all kinds of durable goods. But during the war, they were making crates and boxes and helping with the packing effort for rations, among many other things. So again, this concept was, you're not seeing our products. Please don't forget about us. Please remember that we still exist, because when this war ends, we're going to need to fire back up domestic production, and all we've got are you guys. So if you forget we're out there and you go to a competitor that's not helping the war effort, then they went out while we did something noble. It's basically the mindset of these home front ads. Also seeing GIs in your regular news media at home was commonplace. It just became, the way things work. You wanted a regular reminder of, what was going on. Because in the United States, it was a little easier to separate your day-to-day from the war than it was for nearly anyone else in the world. North America, other than a few incursions into the Aleutian Islands by the Japanese, which were very minor events, comparatively, didn't really have any home front day-to-day reminders of the war itself, other than lack, other than things that were missing. So, the campaigns to collect used tires and nylons and scrap metal and all of that sort of stuff. You would have that kind of floating around in the background, and then you'd have ads like this and that sort of thing. And you, in that sense, stayed connected to the war. Whereas, in basically all of Europe, Northern Africa, almost all of Asia, there was active conflict. There was no separation from it there. These Victory Vitamin C ads, these in particular are my favorites. So this one is and I feel like I always have to read them in like news voice, but it's how good to know that our boys are chasing Adolf Supermen armed with Victory Vitamin C. And so this was the Florida Grape Juice Company. Courageous hearts across the sea, where African sands and American grit have clogged the wheels and grinding gears of the murderous Nazi machine. Those heroic hearts have proved that they can beat back the very best that a fiendish foe has to offer. I mean, like, that writing is just fantastic. It just rolls off the tongue. Fiendish foe. I mean, it's just a different era. And the Florida Citrus Commission of Lakeland, Florida. Nice. We know somebody from Lakeland. These were, in particular, really great illustrations. Very in the era ads versus some of the more demure ones. I'm not going to read this one out loud, but that's no longer an acceptable. Well, I mean, it never really was a kind or acceptable way to refer to a Japanese person. But during the war, there were definitely slurs going around in American media that were no one thought twice about them at the time. Yeah, I mean, even in here, whether it's so this particular ad is a product of its era for sure, but the artwork on it, the feel of it, it's that reminder, to the home, to the folks at home, like why they're going without something, is because it's necessary, because it's helping, because it's a taste of home for someone who can't be there. Because bomber crews must have Victory Vitamin C, maybe your canned Florida grapefruit juice is over Nazi rooftops tonight. And we've got the searchlights, we've got the bombers, we've got the escorts. We've got the oh man, it's just a great. This one's a great ad. Somewhere in England, lolling about in a ready room before they go rampaging over the Rhine and Ruhr, American boys are chatting. Maybe a donut in one hand, and in the other, a can of juice from home. Grapefruit juice, shipped all the way from Florida. So, I mean, this stuff, I think people are going to like being able to, in the real museum, when it is eventually, we find a home for it and open to the public, there's definitely going to be a large-scale exhibit of all these ads. So that people can walk through and enjoy them in person, but they're going to make it into VR first. So I realize I've actually gone through the whole 2 hours and we're not going to jump into the photoshopping, but honestly, just looking at some of these is probably a lot more interesting than watching me very slowly cut them out and save them and mess with the file formats and all that. So we'll look at a couple more and then we'll wrap this up for this week. I hope folks enjoyed what there was of the less than appetizing dinner and the conversation along the way. It's always great having you guys. Let's see, I missed some This is something from Kaylynn. That'll look especially cool, especially if you put a pic of the ration in the same space as the ad. Ooh, that's a really good idea. Having some of these ads go right alongside the actual items that they represent. I know the DuPont cellophane ones have a couple specific ration items in them. There's K ration pieces, there's some B ration related ones. The cigarettes for sure could probably put a pack of era correct Chesterfields with a Chesterfield ad, etc. Yeah, I have a bunch of these Victory Vitamin C. I really like those. Always keeping an eye out for more. Here we've got a soldier in a mess hall with a nice big hearty meal, lots of color to the meal. Color means fresh, like just sticking that in there. And this is General Motors truck and coach, talking about making like refrigerated transport and, waterfront trucks. 40% of our motor trucks are used to carry farm and food supplies. 60% of the material shipped out of 741 plants surveyed was moved by truck. So, this is showing us what Ford was doing General Motors was doing during the war. This is another Crosley ad. Crosley has had reason to show how skillful and careful American women are about food. Since the patented Shelvador was first presented in Crosley refrigerators, American women have appreciated the extra exclusive convenience of having shelves in the door. Crazy! Today, Crosley facilities are completely devoted to war. Someday, when American lives are safe again, Crosley will reconvert to peace to serve your home again with Crosley radios, radio phonographs, Crosley refrigerators, and with the patented Shelvador and other household appliances. That's this little chunk here. So that's neat that they're making a big deal about there being, shelves in the door. And it's funny, in my grandmother's basement, there's a 1930s era Frigidaire, and it still runs. It's been running in the spot under the stairs my entire life, times 2, basically. So, yeah, as long as I've been alive, and then just as much more, this machine from the 30s has been doing its job, staying absolutely cold, with a freezer that's got a nice little layer of ice on it, and the freezer is just like a block hung in the middle of the overall unit with the shelves, and she uses it for, beer and soda, and that's been my whole life. If you want cold drinks at grandma's house, and the fridge doesn't have them, go down to the basement, grab a couple, put them in the fridge. So, but I guess the reason I'm bringing it up, the door is a big metal plate. So once you open the door, the inside of it is just a metal plate. There's no shelves on it. So this is the era at the beginning of World War II where there was innovation by Crosley, the radio and appliance company, to put shelves in the door itself so that you could put things like drinks, and jars of stuff in there. See, Spicy's saying, Kaylynn's saying, hopefully I can find recordings of the audio. I don't think they would be there. That would be something to dig around. That would be neat if they ever had like radio versions of these. And honestly, the museum should have stuff like that. If there's ever radio ads by these food companies talking about not being able to provide these products because they're, making them for the war effort, that would be amazing to have. And honestly, I never thought of looking for radio audio for this sort of thing. It's going to be a hard search and most of broadcast radio from the war doesn't exist anymore. So we'll see. But the good thing was advertisements in specific were on records. So radio stations would get records, usually like these massive, great big records, not 78s, much bigger than 78s, that they would play over and over and over again when it was time to air an ad. So, and that was if they were airing an ad that the company had, planned and distributed. I shouldn't say most of the ads were that. Probably only a very small portion of ads were that format. But if they were pre-made, they'd be on a record and they'd be distributed. So there may be some. I would actually say the bulk of radio ads would have been read by the person whose program it was. So if you were listening to a particular person's show, and that show, or if you were listening to, say, Mercury Theater on the air, you might, the announcer for that be the person who would read out the ad and they'd have it on paper in front of them. So it'd be interesting to see. I'll probably have to crowdsource that. And when we have more of a following and people that are aware of the museum, like put it out there that we're looking for that sort of material. It would be very interesting to see if folks could help us find, ads like that, because that voice, from that era is so iconic, and everybody tried to do the same thing because it cut through radio hiss, and it cut through static. So it wasn't so much that it was just the way people sounded. It was that it was a particular voice style that was adopted to make sure that as far reaching as possible, your voice would be clear enough to understand. So, it was interesting. And then it carried over to television almost, without anybody thinking. It just ended up on television and in newsreels and that sort of stuff as well. So I've got quite a few of these. Why is this set only a handful? This one's for Nestle's Cocoa. This is for Toll House cookies, but you see there's soldiers in there. Excuse me, I think this was because it was like home front. I think Series 2 is home front food products that aren't necessarily rations, like military production, I mean. So here we've got Milky Ways. I'm strong for Milky Ways. Whatever mindset, or whatever, linguistic style that would be. What, no bath salts? Yeah, bath salts. Let's see, so this Canon towels, this would be sundries, this, like a non-ration, but quartermaster delivered kind of supplies. Westinghouse was crating up and canning up food, which is kind of interesting because you see from that same era, you see cans that look identical to ration cans that were used for like radio tubes. Oh, we got Durkee's sauce here. Let's see. Yeah, Durkee's famous sauce, but then down here, Durkee's also made margarine, so aka oleomargarine, which is why you might hear your grandparents refer to margarine as oleo, which growing up, that never made much sense to me, but seeing the older ads, it finally clicked. Libby's tomato juice. Another Milky Way ad, snack for a whack. And then we got Bird's Eye frozen foods. Well, they say frosted foods here, but this is just general ration related. So not specifically wartime military, but talking about ration coupons and how to stretch what you can get and make new meals out of it. Because people were, a little put out in terms of what was available. What people were supposed to be growing on farms wasn't necessarily what they were always growing. So there were there were things that were lacking in terms of, like, you'd go to the grocery store and it wasn't quite the same as pre-war. So here we're looking at, it was just such a different era that people ate such seemingly strange stuff when you look back in time. Corn and sausage casserole, corn and tomato chowder, corn and cabbage, where it's just quartered cabbage or eighth cabbage with creamed corn in a big old platter. It's not something I would think of. I would try it. Okay, golden sweet corn, so not creamed corn. Cabbage, white sauce. Don't know what a cup of seasoned white sauce. Make white sauce. Oh, using corn liquor. Yeah, different era. Like, they don't explain the white sauce on here, so I guess that was just a thing people did. They would make quote-unquote white sauce with corn liquor and onions. But yeah, I'm going to be chopping these up so that this little white border is gone, and getting these up on the collection website so that you guys can finally take a look at your own pace. Although I'm going to be putting watermarked smaller versions on the website because long term I'd like to use these ads and their high quality to do reproductions and potentially, parts of them for apparel, things that we'd like to sell for fundraising efforts. So I don't want to release these full-scale large prints of them and just have somebody else basically do that same thing and just use it as a commercial endeavor to make themselves some money. Not that I have any problem with people finding ways to make themselves some money, but really like this to be a way that people can help fund the museum and get something they actually want to get. If we can find a good printer to make, nice reproductions of these. Even this, he doesn't say where, but he got camels. And then it talks about the importance of not mentioning anything about location or, specific activities or orders or anything like that in your correspondence with your family members. So it's like this ad was serving multiple purposes. It was reminding people that loose lips sink ships. It was a slogan at the time, basically like, keep your mouth shut about anything at all that an enemy could use, because you have no guarantee that a letter you write in Wichita is going to make it to your son in, Berchtesgaden, and not be intercepted somewhere along the way, and vice versa, and a soldier writing even the most mundane details about their location or something they went to. Oh, the other day the boys and I went to, such and such, it could be used to, compromise the safety of those soldiers. So you had to be very careful about that kind of stuff. And it's funny that you see in an advertisement for cigarettes in the Saturday Evening Post, subtle reminders of how to, or of what not to do. And, in that instance, it was the header text was a mother, saying, I don't know where he is or where he got them, but he got camels. I'm happy for that, Here's Pall Mall ads. saying, hey, look, we use filters. Crazy, right? The filtered cigarette lessens throat irritation. Yeah, so I think we'll wrap up here. See if I missed any chat. We got. Oh, I missed MFO saying it's bad business to make machines last a few years longer. I assume, yeah, you were saying that when I was talking about the refrigerator. Yeah, in the old days, something was made to be as good as it possibly can be without thinking, about replacement as a built-in cycle. If you made good enough refrigerators for everybody in the country, you won't be making as many refrigerators after they're all sold to everybody. But they didn't necessarily worry as much about that until closer to the modern era. So there's a lot of early 20th century and mid 20th century products that they'll just work. They'll just work for 100 years. And Kaylynn saying, heard that term a lot as a kid. Assume oleo, yeah, still on some packaging. And yeah, I would think so too. I would think some of these companies did have influence on the kitchen production, that sort of stuff. Spicy saying, used to eat so much cream corn all the time as a kid. I got no problem with cream corn. I like it. It's sweet, it's creamy. Can't really go wrong. MFO saying, weird guy with his taste. I'll agree with Spicy all day long. I don't think Spicy's ever mentioned something being good that I wouldn't agree with. Oh, here we go. Camel and the T-zone. Well, these ads, your tobacco zone. Your taste and throat is the proving ground for cigarettes. Only your taste and throat can decide which cigarette tastes best to you. Yeah. Is this whole section cigarette ads? Yeah, I think, okay, so this is all cigarette ads, is series 3. So let's look at series 4, and then we'll call it series 4. Hey, right there, you called it, Kaylynn. Why do they make Army field kitchens out of steel? Because you can't beat steel for efficiency. United States Steel. Hey, Kitty. How's it going? Kitty saying hello. You can probably see there she's got a wound on her one paw. She won't leave it alone. We're going to have to take her to the vet because she keeps opening it back up, and that's no good. Yeah, so these, I think most of these ads are going to be for containers and more general ads. So yeah, we're looking at seal right containers. Garrett Allied Chemical and Dye. It's Russian, we were definitely very much friends with the Russians throughout World War II. Anybody that was fighting Hitler. So the United States was helping supply Russian military with rations, in particular, many cans of Svinya Tushonka, the beef stew, was shipped over, and it would be, the cans were English Svinya Tushonka, but then it would say like beef. But I've seen some really good reproductions of those, and I'll probably get a reproduction for the museum. Potentially to put with this ad would be a nice idea. I like that idea, Kaylynn. Ever try eating lunch on a PT boat? Paper containers must come first. So yeah, I guess they're trying to say like can't have glassware. It'll get thrown everywhere and broken. The Package Machinery Company, National Lead Company, Procter & Gamble, A&P Supermarkets. So, yeah, we'll see. Hopefully next time we come back, we'll get to kind of walk through where the museum, the virtual version of the museum is, and have some of these up on the walls in there as a nice looking display. But I hope you guys had some fun. I know I did. I'm feeling fine after all that dodgy food. You know, next time I think I'll go with something a little more modern and safe. Although the Kazakh ration wasn't old, it's only 3 or 4 years old. I want to say it was a 2019, so I want to say 3 years old. We got those 2 ORP mains, but I'd rather, you know, for next week swap over to like an actual meal again. So I might pull out another MRE from the basement, or try another one of those Norwegians because I have a few more. And honestly, I've gotten over saving the foreign ones forever. I'm getting those to eat and to enjoy and to share with you guys. So, you know, I picked up 6 of them. One went to Bob Sour Wine, and I've eaten 2 so far. So we've got 3 more options among those. Although one of them was a repeat. So actually we've got 2 that we haven't seen so far. Sorry, I'm like grabbing cat hairs out of the air. This room is just, she's got, you know, like 4 or 5 inch long hair. It just gets everywhere. But, you know, I hope you guys had fun, and I'll be back a week from now to pick this back up and to show you guys where these photos end up. And I hope in the meantime you guys have a great rest of your week. Halloween's going to come between, well, actually no, next stream is Halloween. Ooh, you guys might be busy. I might be busy. We'll see. I guess it's not a guarantee that I'll be back next week, but let's plan on it, because I generally don't go anywhere for Halloween anymore. And I'll try and think if I can come up with something spooky to eat and maybe to, you know, show you guys. So until then, everybody, thanks so much for watching, and just remember, stay rational.